Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, and we're going to talk about the difference between the setting, the world, and the continent, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. There's a little bit of admin material that we're going to deal with here. So one, I wanted to just thank you for your patience with my two videos where I'm saying I'm low. I was low, I am low, but the sun is out, right? And there are times where I just, the pressure of everything just gets too high. And so one, we're going to talk about Dragonlance today because I don't want to keep talking nonstop about this OGL disaster, right? Like, it's just, and honestly, I feel really bad because everybody's joy is down, right? Like, the OGL, the OSR, and the Orc, they've made incredible strides in their attempt to destroy Dungeons and Dragons, but they're not having fun. I could tell it, man. When I all of them that are, all the OGLers, the OSRs, the Orcs, the allies to the destruction of Dungeons and Dragons, none of them are happy. Right? Like, you could, because I'm listening to them, and there's like their joy's gone, right? So I'm not and I'm on the other side. So I got this great language from someone in the comments. The commenters are so brilliant. A brand advocate creator, right? So OGL, right? They're not brand advocates. They're copiers who are like, hey, if you try to take our ability to copy from you, we will literally burn D&D to ash. We'll destroy everything in order to just make sure that we can copy, right? And it would be great if we're able to destroy Dungeons and Dragons, because then people won't even remember how bad it sucks compared to the original, right? Like, and so that's their impetus, right? Oh my gosh. But we can't let, it's a new day. Like, let's celebrate Dungeons and Dragons. So let's jump right in, right? And brand advocate creator, right? Like, so I love this concept of, oh my goodness, we could have people who are brand advocates, right? Creating, right? And so what does that mean? It means I actually love Dungeons and Dragons, and not like, oh, the Dungeons and Dragons where I pretend that capitalism isn't real and law isn't real and definitions aren't real, right? And like, we just slap D&D on a game that isn't D&D, but like, I literally love D&D, and I'm a brand advocate, right? Like, I love D&D when it was with TSR. I love D&D when it was Wizards of the Coast. I love D&D now that's on Hasbro. I'm a brand advocate. I recognize the value of it as a brand. I recognize the value of its guardians, and I don't try to steal the word, right? Which, in my humble opinion, is exactly what Ben from Questing Beasts is doing. He is slapping D&D onto games that are not even. He's slapping that label that he does not own. We still live in a capitalist world. We still live in a world with laws. We still live in a world where words have definition, right? And you can't just slap. D&D isn't this. It's not open D&D. It literally is owned, right? Like, and so, like, and that's what's at stake. Are we going to just break every contract? Right, like, and just say, oh yeah, like, we're just gonna use Coke on whatever on a water bottle, right? Like, it's not right. It's really not right, right? And what's super ironic is the OSR pretends to be red pill every 5 minutes, and then they just spout utter communist nonsense constantly, right? Like, it's incredible. Let me stay focused. Let's talk about Dragonlance. Thanks for your patience, because I know you guys are like, I know, like, I'm not at my best right now, so I really appreciate each and every one of you that's willing to listen to a video, right? Because none of us are at our best right now. Dragonlance, okay? Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, an absolute masterpiece, right? So Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss did a little bit of work in the 80s. F. Wesley Schneider, he is the guy who brought this forward from Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, and really crushed it, and really has refreshed and fully renovated the Hotel of Dragonlance, right? It was this old crusty relic that, a few people visited every now and then. It had shag carpeting and wallpaper with bad designs on it, and he came forward, and what he has accomplished is absolutely amazing. I'm really impressed. Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, and I just keep going deeper and deeper into this. Like, I love Dungeons and Dragons so much, and I don't take these words lightly, right? D&D canon hardback, right? I'm like, this is the deal, man. And as I collect, right, I don't touch any of that like paperback module junk, right? Like it's in D&D's history, but like just stay on the hardbacks. There's more than enough. If you stay on that, I'm never even going to be able to collect all the D&D canon hardbacks I want from 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E, and 5E. But like the Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen, right? It is I just take that book and I just hold it to my face, right? And these books were precious to me before, and now it's just at a completely different level, right? I look at the work that F. Wesley Schneider has done, far surpassing anything that Margaret Weiss or Tracy Hickman ever did originally, right? And really saying, this is new, this is fresh, this is now, this is real, right? And that's not a small thing, right? Like, I was just thinking about it. Like, I have Oriental Adventures twice on my shelf, right? And I understand that that's a problematic term, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not running those books. I own them; they're part of Dungeons and Dragons history, and I'm careful about dealing with them from the perspective of their history, right? Like, that was a terrible name. Oriental Adventures was a terrible name. There are two worlds connected to Oriental Adventures: Karator and Rokugan, right? And like, this is the thing I love about Dungeons and Dragons, and why. I'm trying to stay focused and like just stay on the D&D canon hardback, but everything comes through the filter of the OGL now, right? And the orc is saying, hey, our stuff is just like D&D, and I'm like, you have no idea, right? Like, just think of Oriental Adventures, right? That's a book that I really enjoy having the first edition and the second edition, Karator, Rokugan, on my shelf. I don't run them, right? Because they're problematic. Like, and so I don't run them, but they're part of the history, right? So, and then like Karator is a Dungeons and Dragons world. Rokugan is a Legends of Five Rings world, right? Like, and this is the point. Orc's like, it's going to be the same. And I'm like, you are lying. You're just flat out lying. Like, Dungeons and Dragons is bringing properties that have 5 decades of awesome wrapped in the burrito, right? And basically when the orc burrito is delivered, it's going to be a really big tortilla with very little in it. And then once you actually see what little is in it, it's rice and potato. And there's no steak, there's no chicken, there's no hot sauce. There's nothing there, right? They don't have 5 decades of content, right? Like, so let's just talk about Dragonlance. F. Wesley Schneider's Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen. And Takesis is Tiamat, right? That's a huge change. It's really cool. But let's talk about Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen from the setting, world, and finally the continent, right? So, one, I got a treat for you. There's 2 links below, right? And I read through Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen, and it just about cracked my brain. There was just so much there. I'm like, I cannot keep all this in my head. There's so much here, right? And these 2 videos really helped me like set into, so I'd read it, and then these 2 videos helped me set into place all the content was there in a more concise and clear manner, right? And they are unbelievable breakdowns of this book. And that's another thing that the orc is promising and is not going to be able to deliver. Both of these 2 videos, right? These are people just like me, people who just love D&D and came along and said, hey, here's this book, right? I'm going to do a whole bunch of labor just to make it more accessible, right? And it doesn't exist on the orc side because the ice on D&D is 20 feet deep, right? The ice on the orc isn't even a centimeter deep. It doesn't hold weight because there's no history there, right? And the other issue is, like, they're promising that everything's going to be better as they go forward, but as they create, they're going to slam into every wall D&D hit. And I'll tell you right now, I don't think for 1 second they're going to have better answers, right? Like, it's just. So, and if you love D&D, like today, I'm going to watch, Legends of Vox Machina Season 2, Episode 4, and maybe 5, 6, I don't know which ones drops. At least 4 dropped, right? That's for me. I get that. What do you get if you're on the orc side? Nothing. It's just literally vapor, right? So, all right. Dragonlance is the setting, right? Krynn is the world. Ansalon is the continent. And because Dungeons and Dragons has these incredible bean counters and has all these C-level executives, right? When you get the book, it is printed in full color, and in the back there is this amazing map that you tear out, and it is incredibly detailed, saying these species live here. This is the East, this is the West, and it just goes all over. And that continent is massive and just filled with history, right? Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman did their little deal, right? F. Wesley Schneider comes and just makes it 100 times better, right? And it's like, here it is as a modern setting. And that's a big deal, right? Because when we get Dragonlance, they're saying, this is real, this is now, this is fresh, ready to use, right? You don't have to, it's not like Oriental Adventures where you have to like, am I going to offend anybody if I put this book on the table, right? Like, it's modernized, right? And Karator and Rokugan are left behind. They got the dust on the cover, right? And so F. Wesley Schneider is like coming in and saying, let's make this fresh. Let's brush off all that prejudice that Tracy Hickman showed just a few months ago, right? Saying that there was too much diversity in Critical Role. Let's dust off this stubbornness of Margaret Weiss saying, no, Takesis isn't Tiamat. She's just a dragon with 5 heads and each one's the chromatic colors. Like, please. Just fixing, like, it's the Thanksgiving table, right? With someone who graciously deals with your grandma and your grandpa, right? Like, and all their, prejudice nonsense, and is able to say, hey, grandma, grandpa, you guys are still valuable. We're glad to have you here. But we need to dust off some of this language, right? And F. Wesley Schneider does it, right? And it also is a sharp reminder, right, that there are going to be worlds that may not come through, right? Karator and Rokugan, I don't think they're coming through, right? And so now, Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen is so much more valuable to me because, one, I have it, right? I'm not assuming any Dungeons & Dragons books are ever going to be printed again, are ever going to show up at the FLGS, right? We now know there are 2 separate groups. 1980s American Evangelicals, 2020 OGLers, OSRs, and orcs coming to destroy Dungeons & Dragons. They're crying it every single day on they're crying the same words from 1980 right now on Twitter. D&D be gone. Destroyed, obliterated, pulverized, burnt, not allowed. Not allowed. Be gone means gone. All right? Don't get it twisted. Don't lose the thread. Okay? And so what I really love about Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen is setting Dragonlance, world Krynn, continent Ansalon, right? Understanding the hierarchy, right? And this incredible level of detail that is in Dungeons & Dragons. And not just in Dungeons & Dragons now as a brand new product that dropped, but 5 decades deep, right? Taking the best, keeping it, taking the prejudice and the stubbornness, dusting it off, and making it fresh and renewed, right? The location is the same. The history is there, right? But no more shag carpeting. Now it's really nice marble floor, right? No more, Appalette, wallpaper. Now it's just a very nice eggshell, right? With navy on the top and bottom borders, right? The trim, right? It's gorgeous. It's beautiful, and I am incredibly impressed with F. Wesley Schneider's work. And also, this is a template for, this is how you take something old and problematic and make it new and fresh and real and powerful and here and now and resonating and echoing with awesomeness, right? And I see you OGLers, I see you OSRs, I see you orcs promising to replace this 5-decade deep legacy and tradition and passion and love of D&D. You got nothing. You got nothing. You're gonna deliver vapor, and everyone who is defending you now and saying that your promise to D&D be gone, every person who wants to identify as a dungeon master and every book that we need, it ain't gonna work. We got the awesome. You guys got the counterfeit. It's ridiculous. It's empty. It's husk. Right? And I love Dungeons & Dragons, and I love Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. And boy, I am hoping that all your promises, OGL, OSR, and Orc, I hope all your promises turn to ash, because you laughed at Hasbro, who's been doing the deal and delivering on time. Now, all your talk is nothing, and everybody's waiting for you to do something. Let's see what you got. I think you got nothing. Nothing, right? And all your threats, they don't scare me anymore. I'm starting to get ready for the wall, right? I'm starting to be up on that cold wall. I don't know if it's going to be me or others, but we're ready. All your talk is finished. It's time for you to do something. Let's see if you can produce anything even a fraction as awesome as Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. I'm willing to take a look and see what you got, but I think every single thing you're doing was born in hate, marinated in hate, and I think it's going to stink of hate. And everybody's going to, and I think what really is going to might come out of the OGLers, the OSRs, and the Orcs attempts is people are going to go, oh my gosh, D&D was the thing all along. And what I've been saying for 4 years, people are going to start to see. Right now, I'm going back to roller skating rinks. And when I tell people, they're like, they're still open? Yeah, there's a few still open. Whole world was like, we don't need these, right? I know you OGLers, OSRs, and Orcs think that you can replace it. Wait until you see the labor you're going to need to put in. And wait until you see how empty that burrito turns out. Oh, that's my humble opinion. I'm eager to hear every word you have to say that is your humble opinion. When you get in the comments, send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.